Brighter days is on the other side of pain. Can't be the same if you wanna see some change. Iced out chains got you acting kinda strange. Mind got corroded by the fortune and the fame. Ego so bloated, got your head on the range by the followers and looks. Movers in the crooks, beat down low. You need a ram in a bush. Can't debate, you took the bait. A fish in a hook, made a friend of an enemy. You mistook. Growing up is knowing everybody ain't solid. Or somebody that everybody ends up with nobody. Lose if you won't, lose if you will. This will be my final degree. You can't tell.
Welcome back to Roxham TV. I'm your host, Jamie, and thank you for joining us today. Let's start with a story that sounds very unusual at first, but actually opens up a much bigger conversation about money, about trust, and about Bitcoin. Donald Trump said he still wants to physically inspect Fort Knox just to make sure America's gold is actually there. Yes, the actual gold reserve. Now, some people may laugh at that headline, but when you think about it, it raises some serious questions, like how much of the traditional financial system still runs purely on trust? Because with gold, you trust the vault, you trust the paperwork, you trust the audit. But Bitcoin supporters will argue this is exactly where Bitcoin changes the game, because reserves can be verified publicly in real time and also through the on-chain. So we kick off the show with the strong debate, so gold versus Bitcoin, trust versus verification. Then we move into one of the biggest crypto infrastructure stories of today. So Circle just released earnings, and while the headline numbers look really mixed, the deeper story is much bigger. Most people think Circle is just the company behind USDC, but it increasingly looks like they want to become more than that, maybe more than a stablecoin issuer. They're diving into payment rails, institutional settlement, financial infrastructure, and even AI agent payments. So we'll break down whether Circle is quietly trying to become the financial plumbing of the internet. Then we head straight into the Middle East. So the UAE is pushing even deeper into crypto adoption. Residents may soon be able to pay government fees using crypto through regulated payment rails. But no, the government is not buying Bitcoin, but this is still a major signal that crypto is becoming real infrastructure, not just speculation anymore. And that's an important distinction. We'll explain why. Then we've got one of the wildest stories of the day. Newly released documents suggest Jeffrey Epstein was discussing Bitcoin and crypto risk with the US Treasury officials all the way back in 2014 during the Iran sanctions era and before most institutions even care about Bitcoin. That raises some fascinating questions about how early government understood crypto's geopolitical potential. And finally, we may step slightly outside our usual lane for this segment, but I think it's worth it because newly released government UFO files are getting people talking again. Now, no, we are not becoming an alien channel, but when governments openly discuss unexplained aerial events, that naturally gets attention. And frankly, it's just an interesting conversation to have. So that's the lineup for today's show. Let's start with Fort Knox because when politicians start questioning gold reserves, Bitcoin people tend to pay very close attention. So here's the headline of today. Like Donald Trump want to open Fort Knox yet again. This sounds like one of these stories like people would laugh at first, but when you dig deeper, the more interesting it gets actually. So Donald Trump said he still wants to inspect to make sure the America's gold is actually there. Yes, I'm talking about the gold reserve, the legendary vault, the one that's supposed to hold one of the largest piles of gold on Earth. And at today's price, that gold would be worth nearly $700 billion. So what just happened is that in a recent interview, Donald Trump brought the topic back again. He repeated his long-standing idea that he wants to personally verify the gold inside Fort Knox. Now, before people panic, the US Treasury says everything is accounted for. The Treasury Secretary, so Scott Bessent, said annual audits are done, and the latest inspection confirmed the gold is actually there. So officially, no, there's no missing gold, no crisis, but that's not really why this story matters. And for that, let's take a look at what Donald Trump said in a latest interview.
What happened to the audit of Fort Knox?
Which one are you talking about?
There was, I think when you first got into office, you and Elon Musk talked about auditing
Well,
the
we
gold
wanted
to make
to go
sure it's
knock
there.
on the door, Fort Knox, very thick door, and to see whether or not we have any gold in there, because we'll take a look at it. It's a very interesting question, yeah. We played with that. I wonder if they left the gold in Fort Knox, because they steal a lot.
No need to really do that, though?
Well, I don't know. I think it's, I do want to go to Fort Knox sometime. I want to see if the gold is there, which I'm sure it will be. We're going to open up the doors. I'm going to see if we have gold there. We want to find out, did anybody steal the gold in Fort Knox? Don't be totally surprised. We open the door, we'll say, there's nothing here. They stole this too. We're actually going to Fort Knox to see if the gold is there, because maybe somebody stole the gold.
Let's talk about this debate over the gas tax. States like Georgia, Indiana, Utah have suspended their gas taxes. And there's a bill in Congress, actually, that would temporarily suspend the federal gas tax, which is 18 cents a gallon currently. Would you support suspending the federal gas tax to give families relief right now?
Yeah, all measures that can be taken to lower the price at the pump and lower the prices for Americans, this administration is in support of. We are constantly looking for different ideas. We've taken a number of actions, releasing oil from our strategic petroleum reserves, getting 30 other nations to do that in coordination with us. We revised the EPA regulations on summer gasoline blend to make it easier for American refineries to produce more gasoline. We've been in contact with all American refiners, asking them to do shorter maintenance work this spring so they can keep pumping out more products. So we are working every day to offset this rise in prices because of a critical conflict in Iran to drive prices down, and we're open to all such ideas.
Let's talk about this debate over the gas tax. States like Georgia, Indiana, Utah have suspended.
The price in supply risk, and because Iran sits near one of the most important energy choke points in the world, being the Strait of Hormuz. Huge amounts of global oil move through that route, and if traders think supply could be disrupted, oil price jump and consumers would feel it really fast. And of course, even the US being the largest oil producer, now they're still tracking the global price for oil, right? So that's why even local in the US, they're feeling the pain, and so as me, because I'm driving every single day, and this is the meme that summarized the whole situation. I'm certainly feeling the pain, like you guys probably are. So why does this matter? Because gas prices are very emotional. People notice them very instantly. Unlike inflation data or those bond yields, everyone sees gas price every week or sometimes even every day. And that makes the whole oil situation politically very dangerous, especially for any administration, because voters would often blame whoever is in power, whether it is fair or not. So this headline we're seeing gas holiday. It sounds nice, but there is also a problem. The White House cannot just do this alone. Congress would need to approve it, and when, if approved, even if it approved, the saving may not be huge. Maybe a few dollars per tank, depending on driving habits, could be helpful a little bit, game-changing wise, probably not. The administration has already tried other moves, maybe tapping the strategic petroleum reserve, relaxing some fuel regulations, trying to smooth supply pressures, but those are temporary tools. The bigger issue remains to be very geopolitical. As long as war risk stays high, oil stays sensitive. So the best case scenario is that we hope to see the tensions cool down, supply fears ease a little bit, oil prices come back down naturally. So that is just a very optimistic scenario. Worst case scenario though, what if the conflict escalates? So I'm sure the Strait of Hormuz will face some disruption and oil price will spike further, and then a gas tax holiday becomes just political theater, because removing only 18% means little if crude jumps another $20. So that's the real risk we have to bear in mind. So the final take here, the Trump administration considering a gas tax holiday actually tells you something important. The economic pain from this war is no longer just abstract. It's hitting everyday consumers at the pump. And unless tensions cool in the Middle East, cheap political fixes might not be enough. So we'll take a short break from here. When we come back, we are diving into some so-called conspiracy theory. And when it comes to conspiracy theory, of course, the center of it is Jeffrey Epstein. But right now, there's some clear evidence that he was clearly involved in Bitcoin. So as a Bitcoin holder, should we be scared or nothing stop Bitcoin at this current rate? So if you're intrigued, make sure to stay with us after the break.
This is Alex. Alex spends most of his time thinking like a trader, still deciding what to do with his Bitcoin. While Alex waits for the perfect entry, this is Laura. She's watching the S&P drop. Everyone is suddenly a macro expert. She doesn't panic. This is Tom. No screens, no noise, no stress. While Tom focuses on his swing, his Bitcoin focuses on compounding. Because Bitcoiners don't want more dollars. They want more Bitcoin.
I want more Bitcoin.
The best move is letting your Bitcoin work while you plan the next one. Grow by Roxum. One currency, one place.
Some call me Chicken Little, others Bubble Boy. I'm a bit changed, but sounds familiar, right? Let me tell you a hard truth. The S&P isn't rising, the dollar's falling. That's the trick, monopoly money. It's ice melting by the second. Your savings, your salary, your time. Worth less every second. Everyone's using the wrong measuring stick. Switch the denominator. Price the S&P into Bitcoin. Hard, fixed, unprintable. Suddenly your unstoppable index, it's collapsing. And while you cling to dollars, well, Wall Street already switched. Before, you needed 2 brokers.
Still getting my ninja bonus though, right?
Fuck. Plenty of spreadsheets. And my quant!
I hate this part.
I was right, and I'll be right again. If I were you, I'd thank me.
You know my name's Dave, right?
Security matters. Zappo Bank, the only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
So, tell us about your furry friend here. What's his name?
Oh, this? This is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
It's not just a cat, he's family.
Quite a name, and I must say, looks quite pampered.
Oh, absolutely.
Around with them. We're now diving into one of these stories that might sound fake at first, but apparently it actually happened. So Newly released US Justice Department email suggests like Jeffrey Epstein met with Treasury officials back in 2014 just to discuss Bitcoin and crypto risk. And yes, it is Bitcoin, like some sanctions evasion during the Iran time, nuclear financing concerns, and somehow Jeffrey Epstein was in that room. And that is a wild headline, of course. So what actually happened is that, like, according to newly released documents, Treasury officials brought Epstein in for some discussions about cryptocurrency risk. The concern at the time is that how Bitcoin or crypto could be used for sanctions evasion, weapon payments, cross-border hidden transactions, potential nuclear-related financing. But remember the timing though. This was during the Obama administration, so back in 2014, where Iran nuclear negotiations were happening, sanctions pressure was a major issue, and officials were already thinking about digital money risk. That's surprisingly early if you think about it. And what's even more weird is that after the meeting, Epstein reportedly emailed the MIT Media Lab director, and according to the report, he mocked the Treasury officials, like basically saying they were not very bright. So not only was he somehow in that room, he walked out acting like he was smarter than the policymakers. That is bizarre. But what it gets like stranger is that the same day, Jeffrey Epstein reportedly also met privately with William Burns. At the time, Byrne was at the top of the U.S. diplomat involved in Iran negotiations, and today he later became the CIA director. And then Jeffrey Epstein reportedly emailed Peter Thiel, offering to make an introduction. That's where the story starts feeling surreal, because now this is no longer just a crypto story. This is becoming a power network story. Of course, conspiracy theory is flying again. Like, was Jeffrey Epstein actually involved in Bitcoin? Well, I would say there is still no clear evidence that Jeffrey Epstein helped build Bitcoin. No evidence he worked on the protocol. No evidence he touched Bitcoin's code. So let's be very clear about that. So Bitcoin actually still remains open source. It's very decentralized. So no Jeffrey Epstein fingerprints there. But he apparently knew about Bitcoin at a very, very early stage. So that's interesting. And reports suggest he had financial exposure around the crypto space. So that reportedly includes a Coinbase investment, some exposure to blockstream, communication with early Bitcoin figures, connections around the broader ecosystem. And again, not protocol control, not network influence, basically just investment and relationship exposure. And that highlights a big difference. But this also shows something very fascinating. The US government understood Bitcoin's geopolitical implications much earlier than many people think. That was back in 2014. Officials were already worried about sanctions bypassing, shadow payments, global capital movement outside banking rails. That actually tells you Bitcoin was seen as strategically important very early. But what's ironic is that the exact same thing that the Treasury worried about actually happened. Today, Iran reportedly used crypto-linked networks tied to sanctions workarounds. US authorities have targeted stablecoin flows connected to sanction activity. So in a strange way, Treasury's concern was not crazy. They saw the risk early. But Bitcoin supporters would argue this is actually a good thing. This proves Bitcoin matters. Governments do not worry about irrelevant technologies. If major states were already discussing Bitcoin as a geopolitical financial threat in 2014, that says a lot. It means Bitcoin was always bigger than speculation, much bigger than just some internet magical money. Of course, when we look at the counter argument, critics would then just focus on the sanctions part, the sanction evasion risk of Bitcoin. But if you ask me the final take, the craziest part of the story is not that Jeffrey Epstein knew about Bitcoin. Like we all know that, like smart investors knew that early. That's not shocking at all. The shocking part is that the US Treasury officials were consulting him on crypto risk during one of the most sensitive geopolitical periods of the decade. That's what makes this story so strange, and is another reminder that Bitcoin has been part of the global power conversation much longer than people even realize. All right, so that's for the Jeffrey Epstein and also his relationship with Bitcoin. Right now, I do want to dive into the next segment of today. And this is not our usual segment. We normally just focus on Bitcoin, on markets, and geopolitics. But every once in a while, a story comes along that is just too interesting to ignore. And this one we're covering today is the US government has reportedly released a large batch of previously classified files related to UFOs, or what officials call now is the UAP, so unidentified anonymous phenomena. So we are not suddenly becoming an alien channel, but if governments are releasing mystery footage and unexplained military encounters, that's worth a conversation if you ask me. So what's happening here is that the Pentagon has released over 100 files tied to unexplained aerial incidents. Like some of these reports go back decades. Some involve civilians, some involve pilots, some reportedly involve military sensors. And yes, like some include actual video footage. Now, let's be clear right away. Like this does not mean the government confirmed aliens. That's not what I'm saying. This is not what happened. So the official position is much simpler. Like there are things we cannot fully explain. That's it. So when it comes to the language like UFO or UAP, just a quick update on the language. So the older term was UFO, so unidentified flying object. But now officials prefer the word UAP, so unidentified anonymous phenomena. The reason why is because like not everything is necessarily a flying object. It could be sensor areas, it could be drones, it could be like an experimental military attack or something else entirely. So the wording changed to be broader and honestly more serious sounding. So what's inside this files that they release? Like there are some reports describe very strange lights. Others mention fast-moving objects. There are cases involving Navy pilots, like objects moving in ways that seem very unusual. Like it's just like out of the physics we understood. They could just like do really sharp turns and then sudden acceleration and no obvious proportion. Like that's why people are paying attention. Like based on today's science, you just can't explain certain incident that we're seeing from those footage. Like random people. The reason why we are also paying attention is because like these reports are not just coming from random people seeing weird things, because that's one thing. These reports are coming from trained military pilots and sensor systems report anomalies. Like because like people do take it very seriously when it comes to professional. So if you ask me, are these aliens? Like that's the question everyone wants to ask. Like short answer is that we don't know. Like, and anyone telling you they know for sure is guessing. Like there are several possibilities. Like option one is that misidentification, like pilots see something strange under really stressful conditions, so that's why maybe they see some illusion. Option two is that like there's some advanced military technology, potentially from rival nations. Option three is that there might be some sensor glitches, like tech is not perfect, even for these type of cameras. Option four is that like something we genuinely do not understand yet. But like unknown, like doesn't automatically mean aliens, and that's the important distinction. Now, like some viewers might be asking, Jemmy, why are we talking about UFOs on a finance and macro show? Fair question, because uncertainty matters. national security matters, information transparency matters. If military systems are detecting objects they cannot explain, that becomes a defense issue. And defense spending, of course, it ties back to geopolitics, technology race, that those absolutely affect markets. So imagine if some of these turns out to be foreign surveillance technology, that's a very different conversation we're having. Like, we are living in such a strange time. Like, AI is moving so fast, military technology is evolving, drone warfare is changing battlefields, autonomous systems are getting smarter. So when people hear an unidentified object, today that doesn't automatically mean science fiction. It could simply mean technology we have not publicly seen yet. That may actually be more realistic explanation at this current point, like at least what we know so far. So the final take, this is not confirmation that aliens are real, but it is interesting that governments are becoming more open about unexplained events, because this also involved NASA. Like, these findings are released by NASA included. And whether the answer is advanced tech, like sensor noise or something really strange, like, one thing is true is that humans still don't really understand everything happening in our skies. And honestly, that one, if you ask me, is quite fascinating. So there were a lot of conspiracy during this segment. We talked about Jeffrey Epstein, and we also talked about UFOs. So that's something new for the viewers out there. But we'll take a short break from here. When we come back, we are going back into crypto. We are diving into what the regulations around the world is doing. So the UAE just took another big step toward crypto adoption. So after the break, we'll get back to you with the details. So do stay with us after the break.
This is Alex. Alex spends most of his time thinking like a trader, still deciding what to do with his Bitcoin. While Alex waits for the perfect entry, this is Laura. She's watching the S&P drop. Everyone is suddenly a macro expert. She doesn't panic. This is Tom. No screens, no noise, no stress. While Tom focuses on his swing, his Bitcoin focuses on compounding. Because Bitcoiners don't want more dollars. They want more Bitcoin.
I want more Bitcoin.
The best move is letting your Bitcoin work while you plan the next one. Grow by Roxum. One currency, one place.
Welcome back to Roxum TV, and thanks for sticking around with us after the break. We're now going back into crypto, and right now we are taking a look at some of the countries that are really doing good things in terms of crypto adoption. So this is the kind of adoption I like, and people should really pay attention to, because it's not just another meme coin launch, not speculative trading product, not crypto hype. Right now, the UAE is allowing residents to pay government fees using crypto. Yes, we are talking about government payments, and that is a major shift if you ask me. So what just actually happened is that Crypto.com has received a special license from the UAE Central Bank. This allows the platform to support crypto payments for government-related services. meaning UAE residents may now be able to pay certain government fees using digital assets like Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. That makes Crypto.com the first licensed virtual asset platform there to support this kind of payment flow. So, of course, that is a very meaningful milestone for Crypto.com. Now, before Bitcoin maxis get too excited, let's be clear about that because I don't want any confusion. The UAE government is not putting Bitcoin on its balance sheet here. They are not building a national Bitcoin reserve. That's not what this is. The crypto gets converted, and settlement still happens in the local currency, so being UAE dirhams, so or maybe approved dirham-backed stablecoins. So the government is not directly holding that BTC, and that details matter. And you could be very curious, like, why this move pulled by the UAE? Like, despite it's really good, but why though? Why are they doing this? Well, that's because Dubai has a much bigger strategy. This fits the broader push toward becoming a cashless digital economy. They have been aggressive in digital finance for years when it comes to crypto regulation, exchange licensing, tokenization, Web3 infrastructure, or stablecoin adoption. This is just another step toward that direction. And they are building financial rails for that future. And that's why I like and I'm paying attention. Because even if Bitcoin is not sitting on the government balance sheet as of we speaking right now, like its presence still matters because like Bitcoin remains the flagship crypto asset, the one people globally recognize first, the one with no issuer, no central bank, no government controlling that supply. Stablecoins may still handle the settlement for now, that's fair, but Bitcoin stays at the center of the digital money conversion. So the bigger picture we're looking at, I would say this is where the real story is. Governments are slowly shifting how they think about crypto. Maybe just a few years ago, crypto was treated like a fringe speculative playground. But right now, as of these day and age, is increasingly treated like infrastructure or payment rails, settlement tools, digital financing plumbing. And that is a huge mindset change. So despite this, like the UAE is not buying Bitcoin. This is building Bitcoin into everyday financial infrastructure. And that matters because adoption doesn't always look so dramatic. Sometimes it looks like some boring payment plumbing. And honestly, that's usually how real adoption begins. So I'm liking what I see. So speaking of some stablecoin settlement, we now have to dive into the next segment of the day. So we're gonna spend some time and diving into Circle. Because when it comes to Circle, like people would think it's just a company behind USDC. It's just a stablecoin issuer, simple as that. But after this latest earning report from Circle, it looks like Circle wants to become something much bigger, potentially the financial plumbing for the internet or maybe even for AI agents. So what just happened is that Circle released its latest earning. At first glance, there is very mixed numbers, very confusing. Like revenue came in a bit below expectations. So Q1 2026, it was just like 694 million. Use the word just, I mean, it sounds very crazy, but the market actually expected to be closer to $715 million. And net profit also fell year over year. So on the surface, the earning report is not looking the best, but if you actually dig deeper, the story gets much more interesting. So the question I was asking at first is that why the missed revenue? Why did revenue lower than what we expected? Well, the main reason is quite simple. It's actually tied back to interest rates. Yes, the interest rate from the United States. So Circle makes a lot of money by holding reserves behind USDC, mostly US Treasury. So when we are in a high rate environment, like to be fair, we're still in a high rate environment, that business prints money, and when rates come down, that income would get squeezed, because think about that. A lot of that holding, that USD holding, is in US Treasury, so it makes sense. That's why the revenue fell a little bit for Circle itself, and that's exactly what's happening. This is the risk of relying too heavily on interest income alone. But there's also the bullish side, like after looking at the financial of Circle. Like Circle's non-interest business is actually growing, and that's important. Revenue outside reserve income hit a record high, meaning Circle is becoming less dependent on just collecting those treasury yields. That's, I would say, a much healthier long-term story, because rates are outside the control, but building that product is not. So this was like one of the biggest number as well. So USDC circulating supply actually grew to roughly $77 billion. 77 billion, like solid growth. But transaction volume, if we take a look at this, it actually exploded. It is skyrocketing. So USDC reportedly processed $21.5 trillion. Yes, that's trillion with a T. That is a massive jump. As you can see, it's 3.6x year over year. And this matters because it tells us something very important. USDC is not just sitting in wallets. People are actually using it, whether it's for payments or trading, DeFi, cross-border settlement, real movement. That marks a huge difference, if you ask me. And Circle is also building a much bigger play, and this is where it gets interesting. Circle no longer wants to just issue stablecoins. They are building infrastructure, whether it's payment rails, institutional settlement systems, financial APIs, and even tools for AI-driven commerce. And that's a very big ambition, if you ask me. So when it comes to AI agent, like Circle is now talking about infrastructure for those AI, meaning future autonomous software could move money using Circle rails, machine-to-machine payments, instant settlement, programmable money. That sounds very futuristic, but honestly, that world may come faster than what people think. And here's another twist to the game. So this is another major move by Circle. So Circle reportedly completed a massive pre-sale for its ARC project. So ARC, if you guys didn't know, ARC. So what they managed to raise is that they managed to raise $222 million at a valuation of $3 billion. Big institutional names reportedly participated. This tells you serious money is backing the big vision. And as for like, you could be asking, what is ARC? This could be the first time you're hearing about this. So think of ARC like Circle building its own blockchain ecosystem focused on regulated finance. So something like stablecoin capital markets, tokenized assets, institutional settlement, and that is a very different game. So again, like it sounds very bullish up until this point. I mean, like even if we zoom out to 1 month performance for Circle, was actually doing pretty good. Like it rose 33% in just 1 month. However, let's stay balanced. Let's now talk about the risk I see in Circle, because Circle still has some real issues they need to fix. Like the biggest cause remains to be distribution, especially deals tied to partners like Coinbase, because like Coinbase is actually taking a huge cut for basically promoting that USDC on the platform. So if you ask me, maybe the smarter play is to buy Coinbase instead of Circle stock, because like those costs are huge for Circle, but very beneficial for Coinbase. If those economics stay so expensive for Circle, margins stay pressured. Also, stablecoin, I don't know, like when it comes to stablecoin competition, if you ask me, is really brutal. Like the biggest one, of course, we have Tether, but stablecoin is also competing with banks, with traditional payment giants, with new entrants, and that space is getting really crowded fast. But there's still bull case, like Circle evolves from stablecoin issuer into internet financial infrastructure, like meaning instead of making money only from reserves, they make money from payments, APIs, settlement, AI commerce, tokenized finance, like we just talked about all of that. Like that is a much bigger total addressable market. But if you ask me, yeah, like in between Circle and Coinbase, I'm still choosing Coinbase because it's almost like a no-brainer and easy money. This does highlight the earning report and everything Circle is building, whether it's come to ARK. It does highlight something big about crypto. Like stablecoins are evolving. They are no longer just parking lots of digital dollars. They are becoming payment infrastructure, like whether it's settlement infrastructure, potentially internet native money rails. And Circle wants to own that layer. Final take is Circle may be quietly making one of the biggest pivots in crypto from stablecoin issuer to fully financial infrastructure company. And if that strategy works, USDC may just be the beginning. And I'm liking what I see. So let's take a look at where Bitcoin is standing right now at this current stage. So Bitcoin is sitting at $80,000. It's just going to be a quick update because we look at the Bitcoin chart every single day. Like if nothing much is changing, then it is what it is. So like Bitcoin, on the weekly chart, we are still sitting below the 50 EMA on the weekly chart. So nothing too significant is happening. Like I know it's going to, it was a really nice run. So to be fair, like we have been almost on a up only, okay, if I don't count this incident of a tiny pullback, like if we count this, like that has been an up only journey of 25%, something like that, in a matter of like 1.5 months. So it's still really good performance, not gonna lie. But like zooming out, because like when we only focus on the daily, it's really easy that we got caught in the middle. And because like I mean, if you're just trading short term, then the daily chart, it does look like this this bullish trend going to continue longer than we expected. So that's fair. But like zooming out on the weekly, we are just like, we haven't even get close to the 50 EMA. And how these things work is similar to how we identified the bear market much earlier than most channels out there. So back in the days, like when we had the bear market, so managed to call that out in November. The reason why is because like the 50 EMA is a really good indicator, and especially when we have 2 consecutive weekly candles closing below the 50 EMA on the weekly chart, then that is the definition of a bear run, or of a bear cycle, not just a bear run, a bear entire cycle. So the same thing applies when we go to a bull market, but right now we still haven't hit that yet, though Bitcoin is grinding up really hard and trying to get close to $85,000. But like even if we get close to $85,000, what I need to see is that Bitcoin actually closed above this level for 2 consecutive weekly candles, then maybe I'll change my view. But other than that, because I don't like switching around, I know it can be quite exciting looking at like pumps like this. Are we out of the wood yet? But like if we zoom out to the weekly, actually nothing has changed. Though like we actually used a 200-week EMA as for the time being, it looks like we're using it as support. Like, have we bottomed out exactly yet? I don't know. But one thing for sure is that we still haven't hit the critical level to be to call that as a bull run. So no, I'm still sending very very strong on my belief that this is still a bear market and nothing changes despite this run on the daily chart. Looks like it will continue for maybe a longer period of time. But like even for the daily, we are seeing some important, basically some important figure being hit. Like we are still using. We're still using the 200 day EMA as a kind of like a resistance. We haven't really closed above that. There was one candle closing above that, but like we got rejected very quickly, and right now it's showing more weakness. So no, I'm not changing my views, not switching around. But like that is basically what I see on the charts and just reporting what I see. All right, so that's pretty much all I want to talk about in today's show. Before you go, make sure to give us a follow on X. So my X is gemcrypto_IO. Make sure to follow Roxum TV as well, because we have regular updates coming out about global news, about Bitcoin, and we have interviews. We interview like very prominent figures in the space. So point being, there's so much valuable content on the channel, so make sure to give us a follow, both on X and also on YouTube channel as well. As always, I'm live here Monday through Friday, starting at 3 a.m. Eastern Time. If you don't manage to catch my shows live, don't worry, the recorded version is also available on both channels. So, being Jeffrey Crypto YouTube channel and also Roxum TV YouTube channel. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's show.